The Bible is a living word that reads us as we read it. It's a person, a voice that proves that time is not linear, as one sentence can confirm the past, guide the present, and declare the future. You are here. I am here. He is here. We are here right now. In the tomorrow of yesterday and in the yesterday of tomorrow, I thank you for joining today. So we're back. Thank you so much for joining once again. In our last episode, we introduced the story of Samson. Samson was born of a woman who was once considered to be barren, but God visited her through the angel of the Lord, and he encouraged her and told her, listen, you weren't able to have a child before, but right now is when I need you to have a child. So now you will. God allowed her to birth a child in a time where he needed the child. He was able to use her son in order to start delivering the Israelites from the oppression of the Philistine people. Before Samson was even born, when the angel of the Lord spoke to his mother, it was very clear that he was to be set apart for a very special task, and he was to be raised as a Nazarite. That came with certain stipulations. He wasn't to ever drink wine or to eat grapes, or he couldn't eat forbidden foods. He wasn't to touch the body of a corpse, and he also was not to ever cut his hair. Those were conditions when it came to the Nazarite vow. Samson grew up under the Spirit of the Lord. The Lord used him, was stirring in him, and after reading that, the next thing we found out was that Samson actually caught eyes for this woman who was a Philistine. Culturally, it was acceptable for the Israelites to marry within the Israelite tribes. And it was really taboo for them to marry outside of the tribes, but it doesn't mean that it never happened. And in some cases, it happened because it was within the will of the Lord. Such is the case with Samson. So Samson caught eyes for this Philistine woman, and it turned out that his attraction to her was part of God's ultimate plan to serve the Philistines what they had coming. Long story short, Samson ended up with this woman that he was upset with because she deceived him and gave information to some Philistines that ended up costing him. During the whole time the Lord is with him, we would see how the Lord would use Samson to wipe out these Philistines. And there was one time he wiped out 30 so that he could pay up a wager because he was kind of gambling with this riddle. Another occasion, he was very upset about the death of his wife and her father. So he destroyed the grains and vineyards and olive groves of the Philistines. Samson had a lot of rage and he acted on that rage. And when he did, he was wiping out Philistines. So it was kind of working toward the plan. Came to a point when the Israelites, because it was stirring up some trouble for them, the Israelites went and they got Samson and delivered him over to the Philistines who were looking for him. The power of the Lord just was on him. It's amazing to see how the Lord was with him and the things that he was doing and the things that he was encountering. But the Lord kept giving him this power and this supernatural strength to be able to overcome and defeat these Philistines. He was able to wipe out 1,000 of them with just the jawbone of a donkey. And so here we pick up. So Samson, he's just kind of kicking it. This pattern continues for 20 years, and the Lord positions him in this role of being a military leader on behalf of the Israelites. And one day, once again, Samson just finds himself in the Philistine town of Gaza this time. So, Samson finds himself in this town. He goes and he visits this woman who had a profession that could meet some needs that he had. And so, after having his needs met, word got out that Samson was there. And the Philistines were like, cool, we've been waiting for this dude. We've been waiting for an opportunity to take this guy out. And this is perfect because he came to us. What we're gonna do, we're gonna lay low throughout the night. As soon as he get up in the morning, we're gonna get him. Samson had another plan. He stayed in the bed up until midnight, and then he's like, I'm about to go. So he snuck out. He's like, they can't keep me under lock and key. So even if the gates were locked or secured, Samson, because of the strength that God blessed him with, was able to lift the gate and the posts that were holding the gates and carry them away. He carried these bad boys on his shoulders all the way uphill. It was a mad flex because he's like, you thought you had me, but you really don't. Some time passes, and once again, Samson finds this woman. It's these women, Samson. But he fell in love with this woman. Her name was Delilah. He fell in love with Delilah. Now, Delilah got a visit from the Philistine rulers, and they were just like, yo, this dude is too strong. We can't take him. What we need you to do, since he's so in love with you, is use that to your advantage. Figure out how it is that this guy is so strong. And then when you tell us if we're able to capture him, we'll pay you a significant amount of money. Now, some women are so loyal they can't be bought. Delilah is not one of them. Okay, spoiler alert. So Delilah, I imagine she's batting her eyelashes and just doing all the things she knows Samson likes. And she goes and talks to him all sweetly. And she's like, baby, what makes you so strong? And what would it take to tie you up securely? Now, if I was Samson, I would be like, yo, that's a whole red flag. What you mean? What does it take to tie me up securely? But Samson played the game with her and he said, I got it like that, you know. But if I were tied up with 7 new strings that have never been dried, I would be as weak as anybody else. Delilah goes and she tells the Philistine rulers what Samson said. They brought her 7 strings and she tied Samson up with them. These dudes are hidden in her home. So she cries out. She's like, Samson, the Philistines, they here to get you. He snapped out of those strings so fast it was laughable. She's sitting there with her jaw dropped because she's embarrassed and caught in this lie. And so afterwards, she went to him and she like, you teasing me, like you telling me lies. No, like why would you do me like that? I thought you loved me. Tell me the secret. How can I tie you up securely? This woman is foul. Like, run, Samson. Samson, he replied and he's like, all right, my bad. You right. I was playing with you a little bit. But here's what you do. If you were to take these 7 long locks of mine and you were to put them in this fabric loom and tighten it, I'd be as weak as anyone else. So while Samson was asleep, Delilah did exactly that. She took his hair, put it in this fabric loom. She cried out again, Samson, they here to get you. And he just yanked this hair right out of it and ended up, embarrassing her once again. This time, Delilah was fed up. She's pouting at this point, just whining. Why you keep playing these games with me and all this other stuff. And why won't you tell me? I thought we could tell each other anything. Why won't you tell me? She's like, you keep making fun of me, and I just don't understand because we love each other. We tell each other everything. She tormented this man. She kept nagging and whining and crying and nagging and whining and crying day after day to the point where Samson was like, yo, you are getting on my last nerve. But he told her, he's like, listen, here's the secret. My hair's never been cut. But my hair has never been cut because I've been dedicated to God as a Nazarite from the moment I was born. But if my head were shaved, my strength would leave me. Delilah realized in that moment, like, that's real. Like, I feel like that's true. So she went, she told the Philistine rulers what was going on. They showed up this time with money in hand. So Delilah, I imagine she started singing this lullaby for Samson, and he's just laying in her lap, and just like they in love. She rubbing her hands in his head and all this other stuff. He drifted off to sleep, and when he was asleep, Delilah started cutting his hair. And when she started cutting his hair, his strength left him. So significant. Now, I want to pause really quickly because I want you to know Samson, of course, never should have told Delilah. It was very clear that this woman was sus. But Samson just kept entertaining her. I remember hearing this woman of God say one day, when you treat what is holy as though it is common, you pervert it. Samson treated this very holy vow to the Lord, this dedication to the Lord, as though it was common. It was none of her business how he could be weakened or where his strength came from. But it was something about the fact that he told her that I believe had something to do with why the strength of the Lord lifted from him in that moment. Because it was like, come on, man. Also, the Lord had a bigger plan, which we'll see here. But she cut his hair and his strength left him. And then, once again, she cried out, Samson, the Philistines, they here to get you. And when he woke up, he thought he's going to do what he's been doing. But this time, he realized the Lord had left him. Woo! Jesus. Oh, I imagine that is the absolute worst feeling. To rise thinking that you have strength and power that the Lord gave you, only to realize that the Lord has left you. This time, the Philistines were actually able to capture Samson. And when they did, they gouged out his eyes, popped him right out the socket. Now, I want to go back because you may recall the very beginning, after we heard that the Lord was with Samson after he was born and the Lord started stirring in him, the next thing we read is that Samson caught eyes for this Philistine woman. And here, after a series of encounters that Samson had with these women who he caught eyes for, he actually ended up losing his power. The Lord left him because this woman, Delilah, cut his hair, and he also lost his eyes. He lost the very thing that got him caught up in the first place. They took Samson. They bound him by chains and forced him to do this hard labor while he was in prison. They embarrassed him. They made a spectacle out of him. It was sport for them to abuse him and to make fun of him because of all of the torment that he put them through over the years. But before long, his hair began to grow back. And one day, these Philistine rulers, they had this big old party and they were offering sacrifices to their little weak false god, Dagon, who we will probably hear about in the future because I really like the story of Dagon. These Philistine rulers are having this party, this festival, because they're really like, ah, ha, 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 we're victorious over Samson. Like it was a big, they really thought they won. And when the people looked at him, they just got a kick out of looking at him because it was like he was this pillar of strength that now just appeared weak and powerless. They were celebrating and they were drinking and celebrating and drinking and drinking. And the more that they drank, they kind of got a little tipsy. And so they're like, bring out Samson so we can be amused by him. And so they brought him out and Samson spoke to the servant who was leading him, and he's just like, can you just place my hands on the pillars so I can hold myself up? Keep in mind, the temple was filled completely. It was all these people there just celebrating. All the Philistine rulers were there, and there were about 3,000 of them just on the roof alone. 3,000 men and women just on the roof, just watching, being amused by Samson and just the posture that he was in and the position that he was in. And Samson, he's listening because he can't see, right? He's just listening and they're laughing and, and his sense of hearing is heightened because he can't see, right? So he is clocking all of the insults. He hears all of it and he has his hands on the pillar of the building of this temple to this false idol god, and he prays to the Lord who gave him strength to begin with. And he says, Lord, sovereign Lord, remember me again. Please, just one more time. I'm asking you, give me strength just one more time, and I'm going to wipe these people out. Samson put his hands on the two pillars. The Lord answered his prayer, and Samson, in this mighty strength, he began to push against the pillars of this temple. These pillars were literally holding the temple together. He pushes against these pillars and they fall. The temple just crumbles and falls onto itself. And the Philistine rulers and all of the people were killed in this last display of God's favor on Samson's life. It turned out that more people died when he pushed against those pillars and that temple fell than all of the people who he was able to wipe out in his lifetime. He gave of his life. The Lord remembered him, gave him enough strength to once again bring the Israelites into victory over the Philistines. And if that's not amazing to you, I don't know what is. God hears us, He remembers us, even when we forsake Him, even when we make sport of the gift and favor that He has over our lives. Samson had enough sense to be repentant of heart. He cried out to the Lord. He said, I know I'm not done. I'm not done. I haven't completed the work that you have put me here to do. Give me the strength. Once again, please, Lord, give me the strength to complete the work that you started in me. And the Lord did. And He completed the work. And I pray that over all of us, that God will complete the work that He started in us. And if that means that we have to be repentant of heart because of some way that we have forsaken the Lord and fallen off of the path that God had set before us, if we have perverted the gifting, if we have made sport out of what was holy, that we will have repentant hearts, that we will turn back to God and cry out and say, please give me the strength to complete what you started in my life. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sticking it out with me and tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. I look forward to our next episode if the Lord will bless me to record another one. Until then, bye for now.